Hey everybody, Eric here with Legacy of the Gun. We are at the 2026 Las Vegas Antique Arms Show. You don't see a lot of M1 Grand exhibits or displays, and Tom has put together literally an award-winning display here. You actually just won Best of Show.
Best of Show.
And that is quite an accomplishment. It was so deserved, and we wanted to include this in our videos and kind of walk you guys through. So what is it here? You've got a pretty big display here. Is it kind of the progression of the M1, the significance, the importance of the M1?
Well, it is, and you mentioned just a moment ago the M1 Garand rifle, and that's actually the reason that that the M1 Carbine, which this display is, exists. Because here we have a quick view of this poster that says, "Why a carbine?" Well, a carbine was because the Army looked at what they were able to offer a GI in 1941,
Okay.
and that was a full-size rifle of 11 plus pounds, or these very efficient sidearms.
Sure.
If you were trying to get out there 50 yards, you needed more range than the sidearm would offer.
Of course.
So in between, this is the reason why there's a carbine, and so the progression went pretty rapidly. There were about 20 prototypes submitted.
Okay.
And Aberdeen Proving Ground they didn't like any of them. So
Okay.
after or they didn't like them enough to adopt them. So it started in 40 through 41, and then by the summer of 41, it got down to crunch time. They really needed to move on with this project.
Yeah.
And so as we move down here to this section, this element, we see that there were actually a total of 10 manufacturers that were brought into this. But going back just a second, in 41, by the summer, Winchester was tapped before any of the other manufacturers were brought into the picture. Winchester was finally tapped to send in a prototype.
Okay.
And there had been about 20 prototypes, but Winchester did not participate with that at that time because they were making the Garand rifle, and they're making the BAR. But they were persuaded, give us one, and kind of famously, there was a technician working for them, Williams, who had really perfected a short tappet system to drive the op rod back, and that was a system that worked. So anyway, in 13 days, they cobbled together something, and then even in 13 days, it was enough that Army said yes.
Wow, that's remarkable.
It is remarkable in manufacturing history to build a firearm in 13 days.
Of course, yeah.
So what happened was Army said, well, we really like the design. Go back, spend another couple of weeks and refine it. And they did. So the end of 41, it was a done deal. We're going to build this. Now they had to start building some tooling. And they built tooling, and they wanted to pick manufacturing facilities that had expansive operations. So they really went first to General Motors. And it says Inland there, but that's because that was a division of General Motors that they could use. So they brought Inland on board, and Inland built the first U.S. carbine in June of 42.
Okay.
And Winchester was brought in shortly after that. They said, okay, we're ready to do it. So by end of September into October, Winchester started up. This chart shows the numbers that we're talking about.
Yeah.
There were a total of over 6 million built, and most were built in basically a year and a half. These contracts all started up. If we go below General Motors and Winchester, these companies were brought in because Army decided early on, we need more than can be built here.
Sure.
So they brought in those other companies by contract, and the whole essence in my experience with this program is it's a testament, more than the rifle itself, it's a testament to American manufacturing capability.
Of course it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to have a rifle made with so many interchangeable parts made by so many different companies in such a short period of time.
You're absolutely right, and it's a record for that. If you look at that total number, about 5 million of them are made basically in less than 18 months.
Yeah, that's remarkable.
January of 43 by the middle of 44, by basically April, going into May, Army called all these guys that you see listed there and said, hey, we have enough.
Yeah.
So what was left then was Winchester and General Motors plants continued to make them because they were developing areas that they realized they didn't want to totally cease production because they had not made the carbine capable of a bayonet. So after all of the other companies ceased production, Winchester and Inland moved on with building the final version, which is this.
I see.
And the final version was now capable of altering the fighting knife and making it a bayonet.
Yeah.
And so and there were many other additional improvements. So what we have here is a succession of the original Winchester design. This is actually built in September of 42. Pretty much replicates the original submitted design. Very close if we were to put that carbine #1 up there from Winchester, it looks like that. But by the end of production, there were some intermediate changes. The final production is down at the bottom, and arguably, I think mechanically, the final production is the most efficient.
Really?
Because
well, they had time to work some of the kinks out.
the parts were, yeah, absolutely. The parts were improved. It worked more efficiently. For the contracts, it was cheaper to build because of some of the improvements.
Sure, of course, yeah.
And as you can see laying on the display table here, there were other little added changes, and that they looked at what a paratrooper could handle, and they decided to change the wood stock to a folding frame.
They adapted to the need.
There weren't many of these made, as is shown here in the graphics. 140,000, which sounds like a lot, but
compared to
6 million,
of course,
it's not much.
Yeah.
So there have been a lot of copies of that since
then. Of course.
But that was the progression of the development, 3 stages. Interestingly enough, this final version, when the war ended, Army obviously had millions of this out there already. They started to come back from the European and the Pacific theater. Army told all of the arsenals and all of the company armors, if it stayed in service, if it didn't go home in a duffel bag, all the parts are interchangeable from this version to that. So what you see out in, today, whether it's in a retail store or at a show as we're standing here, is you see a lot of carbines that look like this. Well, it's because Army wanted all of those early carbines changed to that.
Sure.
So if you see an early one, you pretty much can bet that it didn't stay in service because it never got updated.
Well, speaking of guns going home in duffel bags, I see that you've got another one here that's attributed. Tell me a little bit briefly about this one.
Well,
what's
briefly,
the story on this?
Yes, briefly. The reason that I acquired this is in any kind of collecting, whether it's firearms or other collectibles. All of us like to know the history.
That's what we're all about.
It's very difficult to know in any collectible who is the first person that touched this collectible.
Of course.
Well, I was able to speak to the family, and quite uniquely, this was a Navy lieutenant who got together with another Navy lieutenant, and long and short of it, opened a crate for the very first time and lifted out carbines, and they found their way home.
Yeah.
So the uniqueness of this is that's the man who has had it its entire life since it left Winchester in the crate, and so that is a bring back. Didn't come home in a duffel bag. He was a naval lieutenant, so it was all fine for him to bring it back. But it's great to know this is a true original that didn't get altered.
We love that. We love the stories associated. And then it looks like you just kind of have some of the rarities here. You've got grenade launchers.
One of the things that about the unique platform of a M1 Carbine is, like other firearms, it was capable of doing other functions. So launching grenades. As we move down here, the sighting system, probably one of the most interesting things about the carbine project was it was an agile enough and lightweight enough rifle that you could put some pretty heavy
Significantly.
distance on. So this was the just like the first IBM computer that took your whole living room,
Of course.
or the first transistor radio that you couldn't put in your pocket. This is the world's first introduction of night vision in a military use.
Okay.
And actually, where it got most of its use was, a lot of use, was in Korea.
Okay.
At the end of the war, there was a very initial design where they moved this light gatherer down underneath it, but you couldn't use it in a prone position. So this came out in 1950.
Okay.
And went on to have a significant value in Korea.
Yeah, naturally.
And one quick thing here, obviously it's night vision. What are you going to do in the daytime? Well, what you could do is you turn this 90 degrees, set it down. There's a backpack battery that you have to have with you to do this.
Yeah.
But then you could take other optics and set it on here, turn it 90 degrees, and you're good to go in the daylight.
Neat.
Finally, part of the story, excuse me, the life of the carbine after the war. Well, as I believe I said earlier, these carbines were mandated to be updated.
Okay.
And so a tribute to the NRA is, I'm sure the General Service Administration, I don't have a letter showing this, got a hold of the Department of Civilian Marksmanship, DCM, and said, we've got so many hundreds of thousands, get rid of some of them. And so what DCM did is they asked for inventories all over the country, different arsenals, armories, whatever, and they came up with 250,000 that they could let go.
Yeah.
And in conjunction with NRA, NRA said, well, we don't want to just put them up for sale. We'll make every NRA member allowed to buy one.
Okay.
The reason that they were so quickly, within 60 days, called for, you can only buy one, but the carbine platform was so popular that in 1960, 3 years before this release, in 1960, the Winchester patent expired, and so commercially, carbines started to be produced.
It opened up.
Yes, and to this date, there have been some close to 2 million.
Yeah.
But in any event, if you go back and find an old Gun World magazine from 1961, you'll see from various manufacturers a carbine that looks just like this for $60, $70, $80.
Yeah.
So when DCM and NRA got this project going in '63, for $20 you could get one of these.
Really?
You can see the value in people's minds that,
Of
well,
course.
if a commercial costs me 70 or 80, of course I'm going to buy these.
Yeah.
Fortunately for someone like myself, a lot of those purchases for $20 just went back in their closet because, they didn't really want one, but it was too good a deal to pass it up. So here are 3 examples that have been totally reconditioned because they were instructed to make them new. And many of the authors seem to agree these are some of the best performing rifles ever. They weren't built in this configuration, but that's what Army did. So
this is an absolutely very in-depth, very thorough display. I can tell you've taken a lot of time and effort into this, and we want to thank you. Of course, that's what we're all here for. We want to thank you so much for bringing this out, for sharing it with us. This was a very educational display. We certainly appreciate it. Here at Legacy of the Gun, this is the kind of stuff that we love. It can be old, it can be newer, it can be historical, or it can just be highly educational like this. If this is the kind of stuff you guys like, check us out. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, legacyofthegun.com. A lot of really neat, interesting videos, and we'll see you guys in our next one.